Okay, welcome to week 14 of 16. We're winding down. If you are missing your late assignments, get them in. I will be grading this week, and so then you'll know exactly where you stand. Also, remember that project that I assigned last week is due this coming Sunday, April 13th. And then this week, we're reading chapter 29, Crisis of Authority. There are so many things going on. We have the Vietnam War. We have opposition to the Vietnam War from our country. We have from the people, not the government. The government was why we were in the Vietnam War. That also, though, is a reason to really pay attention to government, politics. Some people don't, they can't be bothered. It's too stressful for them. I don't know what the excuse is, but as a citizen of this country, you have a responsibility to be informed. And you become informed by consuming news from reputable sources, not TikTok, reputable sources, and reading books, good books, scholarly books, books that maybe you have to have a dictionary lying around to look up a few words that are in the books. You need to know what your government is doing. So what we see with Nixon is, and I'm going to attach a PowerPoint that I did just for a little extra information. So Watergate did not just happen overnight. So there's a number of things going on. So in 1964, Congress passed the Gulf of Tonkin Resolution, which allowed President Johnson to use military force in Vietnam. Why were we in Vietnam? Here's why you pay attention to government. In 1948, President Truman initiated a policy of containment of communism. And that is what drug us into the Korean War. Communist North Korea invaded democratic South Korea. So we went to bolster South Korea so the communism would stay contained in North Korea. 1964, President Truman's 1948 policy of containment of communism is still alive and well and driving foreign policy for the Johnson administration. Presidents can enact policies that far outlive their tenure as president. You need to pay attention. You need to cast your own votes, and they need to be informed votes. And you must consume news from more than one side to get the whole story. You can't just have one source. You're not going to get the whole story with one source. So that's my plug. Pay attention. Pay attention. So we're in Vietnam. President Nixon is elected in 1968. Meanwhile, there is a think tank, RAND. It was a think tank, and they were doing a study of the U.S. involvement in Vietnam. RAND employed a man named Daniel Ellsberg. Daniel Ellsberg felt that if the American public knew what we were doing in Vietnam, that they would be voting to oust whatever Congress people were keeping us in Vietnam. And because that's how it works. You become informed about what your government is doing, and then you can make changes at the ballot box. The entire House of Representatives is up for re-election every 2 years. 1/3 of the Senate is also up for re-election, every 2 years. Senators have 6-year terms, but the way it works out is 1/3 of them are up for re-election every 2 years. And so if you know what your government's doing, then you can help affect changes by informed votes at the ballot box. Daniel Ellsberg understood this and how our government was supposed to work. So he leaked this secret study of the U.S. involvement in Vietnam to the New York Times, the Washington Post, and within 2 weeks, 17 other newspapers, because he wanted the public to know what its government was doing. President Nixon saw this as a personal betrayal. And so the Watergate plumbers were really employed to stop any future leaks and to break into Daniel Ellsberg's psychiatrist's office, the one place your information should be secure, to try to find dirt on him. So it was ugly. But Nixon did not want any more leaks. And so this wound up before the United States Supreme Court. It was the New York Times versus the United States, or Nixon versus the United States, I can't remember. But the United States Supreme Court protected the First Amendment right of the press and said that for our system of government, essentially the government must know, or the people must know what the government is doing. But if the people are too lazy or too distracted to pay attention to what the government is doing, then what? Really, you need to prioritize your time. You need to think about the information you consume. Is it serving you? Is it serving your country? Is it helping make a positive difference? That's on us. That's our responsibility. We complain about the government, but they're really only doing what we let them do. So there's my plug. All right. So with questions, you have the recall and reflect questions 1 through 5, and then you have a quiz too. So sorry about quizzes 2 weeks in a row. But also you have your project, and then I will attach the PowerPoint to the announcement that just gives a little more information about Nixon. Okay, reach out with questions and have a wonderful week.